Afternoon, folks. Here we are with my good friend Chaba the Chachi. How's it going, Chaba? Beautiful little donkey. Some Yunuru Lovak ponies, Patsis. And we're here in Pilish Boroshianu, unfurling beneath. It's a beautiful day at the beginning of October. And now we shall continue with our story of the Bocskai Felkelés. So last time we left off with Bocskai István and company. We were just coming towards the end of the 15 Years' War. Remember, it started in 1590, or thereabouts, and it had stretched all the way to the turn of the 17th century. And Hungary, particularly Transylvania, and the regions of the Felvidék and all these areas in the center are becoming sort of this buffer zone between these two great powers, the Ottomans and the Habsburgs. And there's this dude, his name is Michael the Brave, Vitez Mihai. He's a Romanian. And he is able to convince Rudolf and Rudolf's proxy, the evil bastard General Basta, to make a deal. And they say, okay, listen, Mihai, you take your Romanians, you come in, you lord over Transylvania and the rest of it, and you help us fight against the Hungarians. And Basta, he teamed up with Mihai, and they fought, and they did pretty well. But then guess what? Basta says, enough! And he assassinates Michael the Brave. And now Generalissimo Basta institutes his reign of terror over Erdai, as well as the Partium. Oh, Pilango. Not don't say Pilango. Sharga Pilango. Oh, come and say hi, Mr. Pilango. So the Partium, it's sort of an area that's carved out of what nowadays is Eastern Hungary, as well as the western part of Erdai. And it's this sort of center region. And this is where Bocskai István had his home castle in Kismara. Kismaria? Either way, it's there. And Bocskai István, he's up in Prague, 1601, 1602, sort of being held hostage by Rudolf, kept on a leash and collar for good behavior. Finally, 1603 rolls around. Bocskai István, he retires to his estates in the Partium. And what does he see? He sees the anarchic, terrible terror that has been unleashed on the land. Oh, not nearly as mad as it could have been. This is where they filmed Egri Csillagok in the 1960s. The famous movie. Oh, the famous book. Gárdony Géza. The Battle of Ege. 1552. Dobó István. Wow, super cool. How fortuitous. Did not know this was going to be on our path. Jonapot. Borna Misa Gergely. This is so fucking sick. All right. Perfect. Perfect. The film. It's literally an ancient ruined medieval movie set. Who could have asked for a better place? Itt forgatta Gárdony Géza regény. Nemes Kurti István forgatókönyve alapján. Várkonyi Zoltán rendező az Egri Csillagok című filmet 40 éves évfordulón. So imagine this for a situation. You've just been fighting for nigh on a decade for this Rudolf character. Fighting a war that seems hopeless and is really taking a huge toll on your people, on your women, on your children, on your land. And now he comes in. He doesn't really come in because remember, he's back in Prague with all of his sorcerers. But he starts to whip the lash and lash the whip in the form of this General Basta. And they start to institute these farcical court cases against the Hungarians, accusing them of disloyalty. And they start to seize the lands away. And the first man who is really punished, the harshest, is this dude named Élesházy István. And he's a very well-respected religious figure. And they punish Élesházy István, and they convict him. And now all of the hoofbeats of insurrection and war are starting to grow louder and louder and louder and louder and louder. A lot of the men that were born in Transylvania and Erdei, the Székelys and all these other groups, the Magyars, the Saxons, they've had to escape from their homeland, because they're basically, for this time period, kind of like the refugees of today. And where do they seek refuge? They seek refuge within the Ottoman Empire. And the real leader of this group is none other than Bethlen Gabor, the Hungarian Batman. He was born to a quite prominent family in Erdély. And when he's just 11 years old, both of his parents die. And him and his younger brother are left orphans. And Bethlen Gabor, his mentor, is Bocskai István. And so Bethlen Gabor, he's out seeking refuge in the Ottoman lands, and he starts to make some conspiratorial inquests towards Bocskai. And one night, very late, he's drinking his flagon of wine, and he scratches out this letter, and he says, "It's time that we do something about it. All right? I'm Batman." No, Bethlen. No, Bethlen. 51 Mike 12. This could be a clue for something. So Bethlen Gabor, he hands the letter over to a scout, and he says, "Take this letter, Mr. Scout, and go up north and bring it to Bocskai István." But the scout, he turns his coat, and he heads up north, all right, but not to Bocskai István. He scurries up to Kasha and hands the correspondence over to the captain of Kasha, Count Ludovico Giacomo Barbiano di Belgioso. And Belgioso, he decides that Bocskai István, well, it's time to attack him first. And now, all of the nobles in the Partium and Erdély and Bocskai István, they are fed the fuck up with the Habsburgs. And Bocskai István, he says, "We're doing this, boys. Now I just need some Hajduk. I'm looking for some Hajduk. Where the hell are they? I'm looking for some Hajduk to go and make war today. The Habsburgs, they've had their bloody day. I'm looking for some Hajduk to make some war today." Who were the Hajduk? The Hajduk. The Hajduk are a mixed bag of mismatched men. Originally, they were cattle drivers. Men that lived in the Great Plain, in the Alfold, as well as other regions of Hungary, who made their trade with cattle, with oxen, with animals. And over the centuries, from the end of the 15th through the bloody years of the Turkish Wars and the Habsburg Wars, and all the way up to the present day, or at least the present day as far as the story is concerned, the Hajduk have become this sort of military soldier caste of mercenaries, and are usually willing to go fight the cause of whoever's gonna pay them the most. To be honest with you, the bastards, Belgioso and Basta, with the patronage of King Rudolf, have a bit more money to pay than Bethlen and Bocskai and their fledgling revolutionary cause. But the Hajduk this time are more concerned with the fact that they have nothing left to lose. The men with nothing to lose, the beat of the drum, the flick of the thumb, the spark of the light and the fuse. On Bocskai István, oh, it is his side they will choose. The mighty, mighty Hajduk, the men with nothing to lose.
Huzzah! Huzzah! To war we go today! We are the Hajduk, now hear what we say!
Ha ha! Ha ha! Let's go and play.
With Habsburg heads until they are dead, that is what we will say.
Regi Kubania, an old stone mine. So the Hajduk make their choice.
Huzzah!
They're gonna fight for Bethlen and Bocskai. And this is really the first fledgling heartbeats of Hungarian nationalism. You know, they say Hungary's the landlocked nation, but we've got more puddles than people. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. So the Hajduk, you know, they're not a monolith. And even though some of them start to peel off and join Bocskai, we've got many that are still contracted and are still fighting for the Habsburgs. And quite a few
Huzzah!
in Barbiano Belgioso's fighting camp. But once they see the banners raised, they start to peel off, and they say
Belgioso Basmeg.
and they join Bocskai and Bethlen.
Huzzah!
And now it's the fall of 1604 or thereabouts, And guess what? The Bocskai Felkelés, it's going pretty well. They're not winning every battle, but they're causing quite a ruckus. And Belgioso, he has to retreat out of Kasha. Things are going all a bit haywire and screwy in the Magyar lands. And Rudolf is fiendishly overseeing things from his retreats in Prague. And he says,
Basta! Enough of Belgioso, basta! You go. You fight this Bocskai. You fight this traitor, this rebel.
so he starts to win some battles. You gotta remember, his army is like a fine-tuned instrument as opposed to the ragtag rebels. But Bocskai István, who's done so well to defeat Belgioso and is now headquartered over in Kasha up north, he proves to be too stubborn of a nail for Basta to hammer away. And the Haiduks, they defend proudly, as 1604 turns into 1605. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yo, oh yo, Tova repula machina vesetia medve, pele keveredik balo avese de lembe. Oh, so Bocskai and Bethlen and the Hajduk are in Kasha. Basta is in Eperjes nearby. And we've got this war of attrition going on. And the Haiduks are holding out. And in February of 1505, something quite momentous happens. The Diet of Transylvania elects Bocskai István as the prince. Oh, the road to Chobanka, a place I've always wanted to go and just learned about today. So the Ottomans, along with their new brand spanking new Sultan, Ahmed I, they've been supporting Bocskai Felkelés this entire time. And once they hear that he's elected prince, they say, you know what, Bocskai, we're gonna make you king of Hungary. We've got the power to do that because we own like half the country now. So here's a crown, take it and call yourself king. But humble Bocskai, he knows that as much as you may trust the Ottomans, you should not trust them too much. He accepts the crown as a gift, but he says, nuh-uh, I'm good with prince. Let's leave the Kirai for someone else to squabble over. We've got a war to fight. We've got an emperor to persecute. Tulipanuța. Goodness gracious, a nice little hideaway here on Tulipanuța. Három. Harmadik Tulipán utca, Elek. Nem baj. Igazából jó. Igazából nagyon jó. In April, Bocskai István is elected as Prince of Hungary, a new position in Szerencs, a little town that used to be a bit more important than it is now, quite near Tokaj. And 1605, storming along, Basta's on the run. You know, it's pretty impossible to beat Basta with the amount of troops that Bocskai has, but he knows that if he cuts off his supply lines, he's gonna be able to force him out. And in December of 1605, Bocskai István, he makes the Hajduk, the brave Hajduk, who have been fighting so tremendously for his cause. He makes them noblemen and settles them in the lands of the Partium, the lands which he rules over. And that's why today, if you look at some of those lands in this region, you see a lot of names starting with Hajdu, like Hajdu Soboszlai and Hajdu, don't kill me if I get this wrong, Bürzemin, Szabadsághegyi, Liberty Hill. Wow, Chobanka's got a beautiful sigil. A nice tree. Gombakuz, Mushroom Alley. Yeah, that's right, Kucha. Felvideki Vilmos is in town. So, you know, back to Rudy, Tutti Frutti King Rudy. He's holed up in his castle back in Prague, tweaking out, ensorcelled by his alchemists and astrologers. And people are starting to get quite fed up with him. Because this war, this 15 years war, the Bocskai Felkelés, it's draining the coffers of the Habsburgs, leaving them bankrupt, a senseless debacle. And his younger brother, Archduke Matyas, Emperor Matthias, soon to be, he's had just about enough of Rudolph's shenanigans. And some deals are made. Rudolph is pressured to sign a peace treaty, the Treaty of Vienna, in the spring into summer of 1606. And the Treaty of Vienna for all intents and purposes, brings the Bocskai Felkelés, as well as the 15 Years' War to an end. Jonapot, Csobanki gyerekek? Hol van Csobanka? Ott vagy ott? Ott? He says ott, he says ott? All right. This is how you know you were in a real town. They've got a water well which works. Love to see that. So it's really the battle, rather the treaty of Žitva Torok, which formally brings the 15 Years' War to an end, but the Treaty of Vienna lays the groundwork for Žitva Torok. And the Treaty of Vienna also forces Rudolf to capitulate and give up his cruel counter-reformation of the Protestants and grant the Hungarians and the Székely and the various tribes and troops within the lands of the Partium and the Felvidék and Erdély the rights which they used to have. Zöldség és gyümölcs, vegyes kereskedés. Oh, frisch. Now, unfortunately, just a few months after the Peace Treaty of Vienna and Žitva Torok is signed, the treaties that Bocskai István has worked so hard for, he is found dead. Dead. And there's a lot of suspicions that it may have been assassination. But that being said, his life was a heroic one, a valiant one. And he perhaps may be remembered as the most successful leader of any uprising in Hungarian history. And now we make haste towards Pomaz. Igazi Oliva? Olivolai? Ooh. Could be good. We've made it here to Pomaz. First thing we see is a fresh olive oil producer. I like the looks of this. Okay. Pomaz ain't messing around. Bolt. Olvas. Uh-huh. Érdekes. Okay. Igazi Oliva in Pomaz. That place is the truth. The absolute truth. Oh, I like the place. I like the looks of this place quite a bit. This might be my new favorite bar in Hungary. Oh, Szilard hooked it up. And look at the little machka. There's machka all over the place out here. See a machka? Wow, egészségedre mindenkinek. Lovas kics kocsma. Legmenőbb kocsma Magyarországon, azt hiszem. Nem tudom, de most. Azt hiszem. See you soon. Can't wait. Haha.